Next comes components of database system. Components of database system involves end user, database applications, database management system and database. End user means people who are using this particular database management system or database so as to store some data or so as to retrieve some data. In users, in the category of users, you can see different types of users. One is end user, we normal people. For example, we make use of YONO system from SBI. We are all end users. But there are some set of people called DB administrator, where they will be taking care of the needs of a database and they will be administrating this database management system. They will be helping up how this database management system should be set up, and all those things will be done by a database administrator. Then there are system developers who will be involved in database system development, software development and all, and definitely database users are us. Then there are database applications which helps you to retrieve data from a database. Applications can be a web application or a Windows application depending upon the product you are going to use. Then it can be owned by a department, it can be owned by a person, it can be an organization, or it can be just an internal group which is making use of this particular database system. DBMS we have already discussed. It is database management system which allows the software. It's a software which allows the users to create say content into a database or to retrieve something from the database. And definitely database is a collection of data which is interrelated and stored in the database. So these are the different components, mainly 4 components which is being seen in database management system. Now again, when you talk about database, you can divide a database into different layers. The topmost layer is external level or external layer. External layer, or it can be also called view. This level is actually the one which is interacting with your user, normal people. Then comes logical level. In logical level, we decide how much amount of byte of memory should be reserved for a particular data to be entered. In simple terms, let me say, for a name, if you want 25 characters to save in that particular name, you would decide it in your logical level. Then physical level, it says how much space, how much memory size should be there for the database management system or the database to be installed. So these are the 3 main levels. First is external level, it's also called view level, where the external users, normal users are there and they will be making or contacting the external level only. After that comes logical level, it's also called conceptual level, where the logical thinkings like what size of data should be stored, how many characters should be there in a particular name, these things are being decided in a logical level. Then comes physical level, where we will be deciding how much memory should be reserved for a database system, what should be the configuration of a hardware that is going to use a database system. These things are being considered in the physical level, or it is also called internal level. In the basis of this, we are having a concept called data independence. Before moving into data independence, let me tell you there is a concept called metadata. Metadata means data about data. Database normally stores data, and metadata or data about data explains what a particular data is. That is where this particular data is stored, how much byte it is being using. These things are metadata. For example, if you take a name, or better we will go for mobile number. Normally Indian mobile numbers hold 10 digits. So where this particular mobile number is going to be stored, how much byte is required so as to store this particular number, these all comes under what? Metadata, which is actually data about data. On the basis of metadata, there is actually an independence which is given for this particular data. Data independence is defined as a property of DBMS that helps you to change the database schema at one level of database system without requiring to change the schema at the next higher level. if you're going to change a particular level or layer of, for example, if you're going to change the conceptual level and you're going to change number of digits in a mobile number to say 11 from 10, so that should be changed in the logical layer, and that change shouldn't affect the external user who is using your application. So whatever change is done in the logical layer shouldn't be affecting the person or the higher level person, that is the external person or the end user. So that is logical data independence, which is being accomplished by whom? The database system. So whatever change you do in the logical layer won't be affecting the end users. So that is basically called a logical data independence. Next comes physical data independence. Here you are going to do changes in the physical level or in the internal level. So if you are going to make a change in the basic configuration of a system, for example, your database is growing every day. For example, you are going for WhatsApp. Every day a new user has been added to WhatsApp. So the database system should be very high configuration of or memory capacity when you consider what WhatsApp application. So when they are going for an addition in the memory system, there shouldn't be a shutdown for the other layers. That is, we have to use the WhatsApp, whatever changes they are going in, whatever changes that is being happening in the background. So whatever they do with the hardware, it is not our botheration and we shouldn't be affected. So physical data independence will actually take care of that part. Whatever change you make in the physical hardware won't be affected in the higher level, that is logical level, and it won't be at the end affecting others like us. Moving on, there are different data models which you deal in our database management system, but the main three are relational data model, network data model, hierarchical data model. Data model is actually a concept where you will have a map or a diagram where you can see a visualization of how data is being stored in a database, or how things are being placed in a database will be concept. It's a concept how the thing is being placed. It's a kind of diagram, but it is a way in which you store the content in that particular database. There are many classifications, but the main three of them are relational, network, and hierarchical. Hierarchical data model. Hierarchical data model, the word hierarchical or hierarchy is actually a very common term. Hierarchy, when you consider hierarchy of democracy, there will be a president, prime minister. So it's a flow of control, how people are, who was the powerful person, the next powerful person. This is a hierarchy. The same is the case when you talk about kings, queens, ministers and all. So hierarchy means it's a pattern. In hierarchical data model, it is actually a form of tree, but the tree is inverted. It's an inverted tree where the root comes in the top, then comes the branches, then the leaves. So in this model, there will be a root node, which is actually the superhero of this particular model, and this is the sole person. And from the root node, you can connect different data, and the root node can be called a parent node, and all the other nodes can be called as child nodes. And the same is the case when you take a child node, it itself can have different child nodes. So this is hierarchical data model, and here is an example where we are having a root node which is having 3 child nodes, which is John, Anil and Rohan, and it is having other fields like its SID and SName, that is student ID, student name and student age is there for each nodes. And again it is having a subdivision or child class, child node, which is having another subdivision, that is C# and C1. So this is parent node, child node, and again this becomes a parent node, and then again that will be the child node. So this is a hierarchy. It's a one-to-many communication. That is, the root node is one person and it will be communicating to many nodes. There are certain advantages for this system, that is, it is simple in operation and concept. It is very simple to understand this concept because it's very common and it is hierarchy. It is actually a normal day-to-day scenario to see a hierarchy. Then it is definitely enables data sharing. It is having data integrity, that is, you can put conditions on the data you are accepting into this particular hierarchy. Then it is very efficient. It's naturally mapped, that is, it is having a one-to-many relationship. Disadvantage is that only hierarchical relation can be presented. In this case, you can only bring into the system hierarchical form of representation. If it is not following a hierarchy, you can't represent it in hierarchical data model. Only the hierarchical relation can be presented. Then implementation is difficult because every node, for example, if you see here, this parent node, root node, should be having address to all the 3 child nodes. So with the information, whichever information they are holding, that is a name or ID or age, whatever it is, with that it should also have the location address of these child nodes. Otherwise, it won't be able to traverse from the root node to these child nodes. And it is very dependent on parent node. If something happened to the parent node, the whole structure will be broken. Change in structure means change in the application program. And if you make a structure, then it will be on the basis of that structure, the application will be running. So if you change the structure, the whole application should be changed. Next is network data model. In this model, data is represented by a collection of records, and relationship among data are represented by links. There is a collection of records and the relation between them will be connected as a link. In the previous case also, there is some link available and pointers were kept so as to implement that link part. The same is the case here, but there was one-to-many communication. Here it is many-to-many communication. Each node is having a connection to every other node. So when you reach any node, you can traverse to every other node. This is many-to-many communication or many-to-many traversal. And it is actually a complex structure, but it's easy to retrieve data and it is very flexible. It can handle more relationships at a time and includes DDL and DML commands. DDL is data definition language and DML is data manipulation language. These two concepts will be in depth covered in your future classes. Then data integrity is better than hierarchical model. When we compare hierarchical model and network model, it will be having a better level of data integrity. Then disadvantages is that it's normally very complex because it is having so many links. Every node is connected to every other node, so it is having so many other links and each node should have the address of every other node it is connected to. So there are so many pointers involved, memory involvement is high. Then its efficiency is limited because it is having so many nodes, so many memories involved, and it have to take up the traverse routes, so it's kind of inefficient. Then high-level language interface is required to interact with the database. So the high-level languages like C, Java, which is actually very close to English language. So when you are using those languages, there is a problem of converting that particular language into machine language, that is zeros and ones. So this transaction time is actually very minute, but when you consider an efficiently running computer system, it is actually a huge factor. So this high level language interface is actually also a problem. Then extra memory are consumed because of this linked data. Every node should be having all the linked information, so it is actually extra data and it consumes a lot of memory. Then comes relational data model. Relational data model, as such, the chapter is relational data model or relational database. So relational database actually is a tabular way of representing data. That is, it will be having rows and columns and it is in a table format, and this table is called a relation. So whatever content comes inside this table will be related to each other. In relational data model, data remains in the form of table, and the table is a combination of rows and columns, which you already know, and this table is called a relation. In a table, a row shows a relation between values. Different values will be related in a particular table. or you can in common say that table is a collection of relationship. This is an example of a relation or a table or relational database model where you are having table content of different set of students and which will be connected to each other. This is actually a student ID name age table where it is also having link to or connection to student ID, subject ID mark, which is on the basis of, it's more of a teacher's table. Then it also having a administrator's table which is having subject ID name and the name of the teacher. So these different tables in a database will be related to each other and each content in a table will be also having a relationship. To be in a relationship, there are some rules to be followed. One is atomicity. At every row column intersection, that is a cell, where the row or the column intersect, it makes a cell. The value should be atomic, that is, it can't be divided again. The value should be atomic. Whatever value comes in the cell should be atomic, it can't be further divided. No duplicity, every row should be distinct. There should be at least one content, one cell value in a row which is actually distinct from other rows. So each row will be having a distinct value. Then data in one column should be of same data type. If you take a particular column, all the data in that particular column should be of the same data type. For example, if you say student ID, all the content of the student ID are of number type or integer type. And if you take a row, every row is actually unique. And every cell is having a atomic value. These are the conditions when you say that a particular data should be in relation. Then data in one column should be of the same data type. Different columns can have data of different data type. When you take different columns, it can have variation of data type. But if you take a single column, it should be all of the same data type. Ordering of row is immaterial. You can just put your rows in any order. It doesn't matter in which order you are putting in the values. And ordering of the column is also immaterial because it is not required to consider it. Advantages of relational data model. It is having a data structure, it's having a proper structure, and it is very easy to understand this particular structure because it is in the table format. And table is something which you are using from your young classes, like from almost from second, third standard we are using tables. So you know how a table looks like, and it is very easy to put into concept how a table is. So its data structure is actually very impressive. Then accessing the network, relational data model is actually very much useful in accessing network. Most of the application nowadays run through network. If you send a request, it will be taken through network to the particular web server. So accessing network is also easy when you consider relational data model. Then language used for retrieving data. It makes use of a language called SQL, that is structured query language, which is very simple to write, and that particular language is used to access data from a relational database model. So the language constraint is also very less, and it is having a very good speed. Maintenance is easy in the case of relational database model. Then it gives you a provision for using a same piece of data by more than one people at a time. And it won't be having any conflict. The data or the changes done will be reflected at the same time, and it won't be having any clashes happening with the data. Then it gives privileges like it will be giving your privacy, it will be taking care of your privacy factor, and also will be giving security. Then comes up when you go for disadvantages. Cost is actually a factor when you consider the disadvantage, because initially, so as to set up a relational database model or RDBMS system, a cost factor comes up. It is pretty costly so as to set up that particular database system. Managing huge volumes of data. For example, if you are thinking of storing a particular video or a photo or a audio file which is having very huge data, it is actually having a difficulty. It is possible to store those data, but it will be having a difficulty in accessing. Then structured limits are there. So if you are putting a size of 20 for a name, if you want to increase that particular structure size, it will be having some limitations so as to implement it. That comes under structured limit. And there is also a limitation for maximum size of data that can be stored in a particular cell in a particular table. Then comes components of table. Components of table, we'll see byte, which is also a very basic concept. Byte is a combination of 8 bits, where bit is binary digit, where it is a basic storage unit, and each storage unit will be taking 0 or 1 as its content. And byte is 8 bits, so it's a minimal amount of memory space utilized in a particular relational database. Data item is the smallest or the most individual atomic element in a particular table. Then record. Record is a row in a relation where you will get a whole idea about a particular entry. That is record. The row in a particular table is called a record. And the table is actually a combination of all these relationships. Then field is the columns you see in a table. So this is a description or a more descriptive example of this particular thing. There is a table which is having agent code, agent name, working area, commission, phone. Columns in a table are called as field. And then moving on, we'll see some terminologies used in relational model, that is a particular table. Then comes the concept of view. View is actually a virtual table. You are already having a table. Let us see this example. You are having a table student, and the table is having roll number, name, marks as different columns, and there are entries given in this particular table, that is 101's Anu, mark is 85. So these are the different entries. This is a table. When I want to see a view, I'm having a command for this, and the syntax is like this: create view. This is keywords, create and view, and I'm going to make a view called toppers. The view I'm going to make will be having or getting the name toppers. And as select star from student. Student is this table which is actually originally available in your database, and from that particular table I am going to create a view which is actually a virtual table, and that particular table is not in real available, but we can always perform all the operations which you do on a normal table in a particular view. and I'm conveying a condition that if the mark is greater than 75, I need to get that set of details. So from the above table, it shows those entries which is having mark greater than 75 and it is being listed in a view. This is actually virtual. Then comes different keys which are used in a table or relationship. First is primary key. Primary key can be a group or can be an individual column which is used to uniquely identify a particular row in a relation or in a table. So, for example, when you take a school database system or a school's table, for example, here we are having student table. In the student table, we are having a roll number which is actually unique for a class. So roll number can be chosen as what? A primary key, because it can be used to uniquely identify each and every row in a particular table. So this is primary key. It is not it's not particular that you should have a single column. It can be a combination of more than one column. Then it is called composite primary key. For example, in a table, if you're having more than one column which is actually capable of being a primary key. The same is an example, you can quote it with an example of election, normal political election. There will be so many candidates working for a particular position of, for example, for an MB post. Then there are so many people who will be applying as a candidate, but only one person will be winning that particular post. So whoever is capable of being a primary key can be called as a candidate key. But it's only, the chance is only there that one column will be successful in being a primary key. So it will be called as a primary key. All the other candidates who haven't been a primary key will be called as what? Alternate key. So there are three main keys. Primary key, which is mainly used for uniquely identifying the different rows in a table, and those columns which are capable of being a primary key is called candidate key. They are all candidates for this post, but only one or two can win this post. Then others will be called as a alternate key. Then comes foreign key. Foreign key is not actually a key, it's a non-key attribute. Now let us see an example so as to see which are the different candidate keys, which are the primary key, which are the alternate keys. So let us take a student table. Here there is student ID, roll number, first name, last name and email ID. Here if you see, the primary key is having some condition. That is, the primary key should be having a unique value and it shouldn't be having any null values. Null values means it shouldn't be having a empty value. So when you take the student ID part, it is having 1, 2, 3 which is all unique and is also having no null value. Again, roll number which is also all unique and no null value. Also email address is there which is also unique, definitely unique, and it is also it doesn't also have any duplicate values. So student ID, roll number and email is having the capability of becoming a candidate key. Now in that, when you consider a school record, we always will be going for what? Student ID as a main criteria. So depending on the organization or the situation is in which you are using your table, you have to decide which row or which column should be chosen as a primary key. So in this situation, it is a student related concept, so we will be avoiding definitely email, and since it is a school database, different classes are there, different classes will be having roll numbers, so there will be no option for roll number. Then we will be choosing definitely student ID, which is unique for the whole school. So student ID is chosen as a primary key, where there were previously 3 different candidates for this post, for this particular post. Then those who doesn't belong to the primary key category, those who fail this competition, are roll number and email. So those two become the alternate key. Then comes foreign key. Foreign key is actually a non-key. It's not actually a key, but it is a key that is used to refer a different table. So these are the columns of 2 different tables. One is employee, other is department. In employee table, you can see employee ID, employee name, passport number, license number, SSN, department ID. And in department, you can see department ID and department name. So in this case, department ID can be called as a foreign key. In this table, employee ID is a primary key of this particular table employee. But department ID is actually a primary key in a different table, and it is used to establish a connection between these two tables because they are having common department ID. So department ID is a link between these two tables so as to establish a relationship. The table which is having the foreign key is called foreign table, or the table which is having the foreign key as a primary key is called a master table or primary table. This is what is foreign key constraint, which is actually used for a communication or a establishing relationship between two different tables. Then when you establish a relationship between two different tables using a foreign key, there is a concept of referential integrity coming up. Referential integrity is actually a rule set so as to avoid deletion, updation, or even insertion of particular data into different tables. There are certain rules so as to follow. See, this is a primary table, this is a related table or a foreign table. You can see if you want to establish a relationship between two tables, the primary data, that is company ID, that is, it is having 1 and 2 as its parameter. But in this related table, you can see 1 and 15, where 15 is not part of the primary table. So it's actually a mistake. It shouldn't happen. So referential integrity takes care of those factors which is not appropriate for establishing a relationship. Also, if you're trying to add a new row into this particular related table, that is the referencing table, then also there will be some conditions adding up. For example, if you are adding a new table with a different company ID, again it will be showing error. If you are adding, if you are trying to delete a content from a primary table, for example, one is used in the related table and you are trying to delete this particular row in this primary table or the master table, definitely this relation will be broken because this one is being used in the related table. So these kind of accidental deletion or intentional deletion, updation, these things should be regulated, and that concept is called referential integrity. So you will be given a scenario in your board exam questions so as to check whether the referential integrity is present or not and how to solve this particular referential integrity problem. So that brings to the end of the session. Thank you.